After the first wave of N64 football games, or soccer games if you're in certain parts of the world, it was clear that whilst FIFA had failed to make the jump effectively from the 16-bit era to the 64, Konami's ISS series made it seamlessly. The ball was back in FIFA's court, and they released the respectable, but by no means perfect, road to the World Cup '98. So the ball went back to Konami's court to up the ante once more and to show the FIFA series who really was the champion of the genre. So in 1998 came ISS 98, developed once again by Konami's in-house Major A studio. After some strange legal issues to do with the game, they missed the original release date to go directly head-to-head with EA's offering. Heck, it even missed the World Cup window altogether. But the game finally released and landed in September of 1998, and thankfully it was worth the wait. Whereas the original ISS laid the foundations, this offering delivers a full package with all of the minor niggles from the previous game ironed out. There are 6 gameplay modes as before, and the fan favourite scenario mode makes a return with new challenges to overcome. There are also 3 times of day to play and 4 weather effects to further immerse you into the game. A lot of the game's AI has been further enhanced and now goalkeepers harder to beat, and many of the sweet spots from the previous game have now been eradicated. Adding to this, the game now has over 17,000 frames of player animation, and also a whole new set of incident animations such as penalties and free kicks. It's quite awesome to see some of these, such as players going nuts at the referee and so on. Graphically, the game isn't a whole lot better to look at than ISS 64. A lot of the game's changes are under the hood, but the frame rate remains solid in this offering, even if the game does lack a lot of the visual effects that the FIFA series is known for. The resolution is also lower than FIFA 98, and overall texture quality is not quite as solid, but the game is still miles ahead from the other console's first football games. Whilst it doesn't reinvent the game, these little tweaks bring you further into the game, and with a whole host of new camera angles to choose from, you really feel in control of the action more than ever before. Now, as I said before, the majority of the game's changes are behind the scenes, and there are now a whole new host of strategies and formations to choose from. With the game being slower than the FIFA series, it's all about tactics and skills of your players, whose mood once again changed during real-time moments in the matches, depending on how the game's turning out for them. On the downside, the game still didn't get the FIFA license many of us wanted. That of course is due to the huge fee that EA paid for exclusivity, so you're left with international teams to play from which do the job fairly well. The audio, however, has had a much needed overhaul. With surround sound support, the action sounds fast and intense. Even if the game doesn't have the Dolby licensed surround sound, things do still sound better than a lot of other games on the console. Tony Gubbard delivers the commentary, and his enthusiasm and feeling for the game is much better than an ISS 64. In a move in the right direction, things still lack though in comparison to FIFA's stellar lineup for the commentary. This is just a minor point though, as the rest of the game's music does the unthinkable and goes one up over its predecessor. In multiplayer, the game does have the same slowdown problems than last year's offering, and the confusing player shapes rather than colours that indicate your player are still here. Again, it doesn't ruin the game, it just makes things more challenging. But if you're after a football multiplayer game for the time, then it was an absolute no-brainer that this would be the game to get. With ISS 98, Konami made just enough improvements to keep itself ahead of the game, but it wasn't quite the everlasting pinnacle we were all hoping for. It wouldn't be until ISS 2000 that Konami would go all out, and so for this time it was a slight update worth upgrading to if you did own the original. With tight controls, well-balanced gameplay and a whole ton of new game modes, ISS 98 is definitely a game to pick up. It is the middle child of the ISS series on the console, so it's better than 64, but not quite as good as 2000. So in the year 1998, which football or soccer game did you pick up? Were you well into the World Cup spirit so picked up EA's offering in time for the big tournament, or had you lost all faith in EA after the awful FIFA 64? So hung out for a few more months to pick up this fine footballer? Let me know your thoughts and memories of the game down below, and until next time.